right. Well, we're getting some people to join in, and so this was a call that I had planned a little bit earlier, but we moved it around a little bit because of some of the changes with some of the sponsoring vendors and things we are talking about. So was excited to have it today. And it's really just an opportunity to talk as a group of TA professionals around some of the challenges that are happening in the market. I'm really curious how some of us may be affected by them, or how they're impacting our ability to, uh, do our jobs. One of the things I was blown away by this week, I'll start with this, was the ability to have LinkedIn write your resume for the job you're applying for. So I did not know that AI was going to make its way down to that level, but it's pretty surprising that that capability exists. And what amazes me about it is the speed in which we can have a professional optimized resume developed for the unique for the job we're applying for, to map your skills and do all of those things. So it's really interesting on how the value of the resume can maybe be diminished by being spun up that quickly and that uniquely for the job you're applying for. So anyways, hopefully that is a good thing. So I just wanted to give a couple updates on events before we jumped into anything. And just for those who don't know, my name is Bill Fanning. I'm part of the team here at Talk, and really excited. I always love these conversations on Thursdays. It's kind of the highlight of my week because I love to talk about some of these activities and events that we're doing. But I wanted to share a couple with everybody. Next week, we have a great gentleman coming to really not present anything, but just help moderate a discussion around drop off of people reaching your ATS system and not converting to applies. And I know that's been a topic we've talked a little bit about in our forums. And so I thought it would be great to have Sam, who actually runs a company that helps with that, come and share his insights and some of the companies he's worked with. On a side note, Sam also worked for Indeed for years. So if anybody has any questions or wants dirt on Indeed, he's also a great resource for that. So we can, so he'll be with us next week. The week after that, we're going to be talking about transforming a contingent workforce. I know more and more organizations are starting to use consultants or independent contractors to do different tasks. And so managing that can be a little bit of a challenge. So Recruitify is going to come and be talking about that with Martina Winston, who's great and has a good experience with on that. And then on the 13th, we have Katie Shuck coming to talk a little bit about the best practices with social media. I know that I think collectively can agree that it's gaining capabilities in hiring certain types or categories of talent like frontline and skilled labor. And but it can be challenging and a little time consuming. So she's got some experience in that area, just coming to help moderate a discussion there. And then anyone who's in the Atlanta area on March 6th, we're doing a dinner at a restaurant called Canoe that I've never been to. But every time when people say, "Well, where's the dinner?" and I tell them, they get all excited. So I think that's that's a good sign. We picked a good spot. So if anyone's in the area and would like to come to dinner, all of these events are easily accessible in the event section of the Talk platform, and you can easily go in and RSVP. And would love to see people participate and come to them. So I just wanted to share them. The other thing that we're doing is Talent Sphere. I know I've talked about this before, but we've got some great speakers lined up. And the fun thing about Talent Sphere, the goal of it is to be less of a conference and more of a retreat for TA leadership and people in talent acquisition. So the goal when we put this together was to focus on practitioners or talent acquisition leaders speaking and interacting with other talent acquisition leaders. So there are no vendors that are going to be up on stage talking. It's going to be our peers, our TA leaders from other companies, and folks in the industry. I don't know if anyone knows Brian Fink or Trent Cotton or Michael Goldberg or Craig Fisher. or folks like that that are TA leaders, but also have a persona on LinkedIn talking about talent acquisition. They're going to be joining us, and then a host of other TA leaders that are coming to talk about different functional areas that they're tackling in their day-to-day jobs, and just having discussions around the best practices that we're seeing. So, my goal when I put this together, working in joint in collective effort with Talent Collective, um, was for three things to happen. One, we leave knowing something that we didn't know that we could maybe put in place when we get back to our day jobs. Two, it's an awesome opportunity for networking. So we can expand our networking circle. And then three, we have fun and enjoy ourselves. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening at this that is not sitting in a room listening to people talk. We're going to have experiences like food tastings and wine tastings and yoga and a bunch of fun things that will help balance and make it more retreat like than sitting in a conference room listening to people talk session after session. So I think that'll be really fun. It's if anyone's interested, there's information on it within the events of talk, and love to, if anyone's interested or has any questions, you can always reach out to me on chat as well. And then the kind of the, oh, that turned out a lot smaller than I thought. It looked a lot bigger when I put it together. So hopefully we can all see it. But really, the only things I wanted to talk about today is just a little bit of an update on what's going on within Talk, because we've got some things that are exciting happening. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit some of the things that I've seen in the news. And I thought this would be a good use of an Ask Me Anything approach. And I'd love to just have a discussion on any one of these areas that resonate with us as the folks who are here. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was what's happening within Talk. And what we're in the process of doing, which I'm really excited about, is moving moving to an updated platform. And what it's going to enable us to do is to have a much better ability to communicate and interact with one another. So the things we're working on are more forums, more types of groups, and more alerts and updates so we can see what's going on in the forums. And for example, if you were to post something in the forum and I were to respond to it, it's going to send you a quick email saying, hey, your post is getting contacts or things like that. So I'm really excited about this because I think it's going to enable us to be a more interactive community. And for me, as somebody managing the Talk community, it gives me the ability to do more things of value that allow us to focus a little bit more. So we can have communities focused around certain industries, communities focused around hiring certain different types of roles, and a very simple way to go in and find and interact with the topics that are relevant to us. So I'm excited about this, and I'll have more information about it as we move forward. But if there's anything specific that anybody would like to consider as we think about ways to make Talk better, you can feel free to email, drop it in chat here, drop it in chat within Talk. But I always love feedback from members, and but I'm excited about this, and definitely looking forward to enhancing the capabilities that we can offer to members to learn, network, and collaborate with one another. So that was all I've prepared to speak. Hopefully that didn't take too long. Really, what I wanted to do is just have a conversation around some of the things that are happening in the market and how they may be impacting the recruiting processes that we're managing. And I went out and looked in the news at some of the different articles out there, and these are some of the key topics that I saw come up. And I'm curious, the first one that I thought was really interesting was around talent scarcity, and that people are adjusting their hiring models to instead of finding strong fits. And it was called Buy Then Build was the article I was reading. But they bring people in with good skills, but understanding that they're going to have to train them, and because the perfect fit person may not exist or may not be easily defined. So I'm curious if anyone else is seeing that or just seeing talent scarcity in the number of qualified people that are applying for roles or that are available to interview. Well, it's in the article, which I found interesting, is a lot of technical roles seem to be the predominant leader, in areas where we were seeing people not having uh, the depth of applications coming in. Um, so I thought that was really interesting. And I'm curious, are there any role types that anyone's hiring for that they've seen a reduction in the number of qualified applicants applying? I kind of have a follow-up question to that. If anyone, it's around the AI capabilities that exist now for people to put together these amazing crafted resumes. If anyone's seeing um, more more dialed in resumes coming in and then finding that the skills don't match when they start going through the interview process. That's an interesting area that I've started to wonder if people are seeing as well. And as I was reading through some of the news articles out there, that was one of the challenges that had been written about. How relevant it is, I'm not sure, but it was relevant enough for people to start writing some articles about it.
Hey, Bill, Ella Wright here. I like to answer that. I noticed that I don't remember. I don't know if you recall. Maybe a month or so ago, we had the young man who started the AI company, and he was talking about someone was mentioning these resumes being tailored to these job descriptions. Well, I work for a bank, and we actually experienced that a couple times, and we realized that something was not right with this resume because she looked great on paper, but when it came time for her to sit on the panel interview, she didn't understand the questions that were being asked of her. And so we thought about it. And so then I heard I sat on this webinar with that person. And so I shared back with my team. I was like, I think this person had AI to create her resume for her. That's probably why she was not able to get it. So we've seen that a couple times here in our HR recruiting department at the bank that I work for. So it's really amazing how well they can put together. And I actually tried it myself just to see how well it does, and it works. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's funny. I was talking with my son, who is I think he's just on a perpetual job hunt. He never seems to be satisfied with the job he has. But his model is really simple. He takes a stock resume and he attaches it in Chat GPT, and then he cut and pastes the job description in. And his prompt is make my resume a perfect fit for this job. And within 30 seconds, you have a unique, tailored resume dialed in for that job. And I don't know if that's segmenting into candidate fraud area, but it's definitely allowing people to create a document that has the right buzzwords in it, is optimized to be evaluated by an ATS system, and allows them to score very highly in some of the automated evaluation tools. And oh, I think you nailed it. When somebody actually then gets to a point where they're being asked to discuss the role, their skill set, and their background, the delta between what their resume says and what they're able to do becomes really apparent. And the other thing that it also made me think about is the value of assessments and skills-based evaluations that a lot of people are talking about. But as somebody hiring, that would be mission critical to me, is some type of tool to evaluate the skill set of the role that I'm hiring for, because the ability for somebody to make themselves look perfect is so quick and easy and available. But that's really interesting in a banking front, because I got to be honest, the roles that I was thinking the most about it would impact are technical. I don't know what type of roles you are hiring, Ella, but in the banking front, I I guess it's across all fronts because it's so available. Um, Anyone else had any challenges with candidate fraud or people coming in with the optimized presence in their hiring, in the apply, not hiring, but in the application process? Ella, thanks for jumping in and sharing some thoughts. The other areas that I thought were really interesting, um, as I was reading through it, was a lot of talent acquisition teams creating what they called a segmented service model. And because of the growth in jobs and the smaller team size and reduction in TA budgets, what I was reading about was that a lot of organizations are adjusting the service model of what a talent acquisition team will do for different segments of the business because they don't have the bandwidth to serve everybody the same way. And I thought that was really interesting. I know it's a common challenge. I know I've heard a lot of people write and talk about the fact that they're leveraging AI or some automated tools to solve it for interview scheduling or for resume evaluation. But I'm curious if anyone's experienced that taking it to the level of actually creating a segmented service model within their organization of how they can support the different communities that they're in. At the end of the day, their customers, the hiring managers. It was definitely. A logical piece that was put together, and definitely something I thought was very understandable as organizations are getting um, accelerated job opportunities that they need to fill and having a limited budget or team size. It was funny because it actually talked a little bit about organizations that have like frontline retail and other areas and how they would support those different areas where the high volume activities such as scheduling all the interviews and things like that they were offloading to potentially the hiring manager of their team because they just didn't have time to vet and evaluate appropriate candidates and take on those larger tasks that take a bunch of time because they didn't have the team size to do it. And that's where I think a lot of people are also leveraging the technology of AI tools that are doing interview scheduling, sourcing, and interview scheduling. We've had a couple folks come in and talk about that, but how is anyone putting technology in place to take on some of those tasks? Or curious who you'd be using to do so, or how effective it's been. You know, we talked a little bit in another session about some of the activity or some of the AI scheduling tools that folks are using. But love to always get feedback from you guys. Otherwise, it's going to be a very one-sided discussion with just me talking. So uh, definitely, if I mean, let's maybe stop for a second. Is there anything on the list or anything specific? Because what I really wanted to have today was just an open dialogue around some of the things that are pressing on our minds for as we go about doing the recruiting and talent acquisition. Is there anything that would be beneficial to talk about, or anything that anyone would hope to be able to discuss?
Hey, Bill, Ella again. So I want to mention something about talent scarcity. So some of the roles that I recruit for are some executives, some not so many entry level positions. For instance, if I'm recruiting for a senior lender or market president, we're finding that the talent is a little scarce, and so we figured out after talking to a few people across our team that around this time of year is bonus time for a lot of them. So I understand, you've worked all year long, you've gotten, to where you don't want to leave, you don't want to give up that bonus just yet. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're running into a lot of issues and scarcity at because, this bonus time, and nobody wants to give up this bonus after I've worked all this year, I've gotten this business and I'm not losing it. I'm not giving it up, And so that's what we're having our problems at here at the bank. So I'm not for sure about anybody else, but we are definitely running into that issue right now.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I used to work for a company that gave out bonuses and stock grants every year. And it was like the perfect combination for golden handcuffs because you got instant reward, instant gratification of cash, but then you got engaging 36 month, and every year they gave you another one. So they kind of stacked on top of each other, but you got to see the longer that you stay there, the more stock you would be able to vest in, and they would sit on top of each other. So it was really hard this time of year to talk about anybody leaving because they would just be getting all of the benefits of their last year of work. So I can definitely understand that mindset. It was funny because a couple of times I was sitting back and I'd be worried about when I first started leading people, and I was worried about people quitting, and all the other managers like, oh, you don't have to worry about that until August because it was sales, right? So I didn't have to worry about people leaving until they realized they weren't going to hit their annual sales quota. And that usually started setting in around August or September. People like, holy crap, I'm going to miss my number. And then they'd quit. But this time of year, anyone who made their number would be sitting there going, oh, I want my bonus. I want my stock grant. This life is pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I see Andrea asked, do we have sign-on bonuses for new hires to offset that? Yes, we do typically offer a sign-on bonus sometimes, but they kind of still want to wait around to get that bonus and then circle back around to us and say, hey, is this offer still on the table? So yeah, we run into that too. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about the segmented service model since you talked a little bit more about it. It made me realize that we do that at my company. I'm in a global nonprofit organization, and we had a huge surge last year where we had a team of 7 recruiters, and each one had between 50 and 85 requisitions that they were working on at the same time. And so what we started to do was having the hiring managers go through the applications and let us know from the bat, from the get-go, who they wanted to shortlist. That lasted maybe 4 to 6 months, and we took it right back because it was just not working.
Yeah, I sometimes would wonder, because I've had hiring managers come in with resumes like, this person's perfect. And I look at it and go, no, not just no, but hell no. You're thinking, but it always blew me away. So that would be interesting. I just thought it was a little bit of a positive sign of the market that recruiting teams are getting a little bit overwhelmed. I think that always comes first before the teams start getting the increased budget and or additional resources. But yeah, I could see that 75 to 80 recs per person, that's a lot of work. And having a hiring manager step in or segmenting some of those tasks out really makes sense. So thanks for sharing that. And Barbara asked at Andrea, recruiters using any AI capabilities to help narrow down the list of applicants? And there are certainly a lot of AI tools coming onto the market to help do that. I'm always curious what people are using as well, because I'm always wondering how accurate they are, how well they align people to the roles.
Bill, earlier
Oh, go ahead.
Well, last year you had the gentleman from Poetry, and he gave out free seats. And I've been using Poetry since. My organization is not in a place where they can adopt it, but he's given me a lifetime seat on there. And that's how I do all of my market data. And that's how I do the kickoff meetings. And I can do just all types of really neat stuff, battle cards and employee value propositions. And I can create interview questions for the hiring managers when they ask me for that. So it's very useful.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And Adam Gordon, who created Poetry, I think had a really interesting idea. So Adam, while not, clairvoyant, but what he's done a really good job is looking at what's been successful in other industries as tools like marketing and management and bringing that capability into recruiting. He did it. Prior to Poetry, he managed Candidate ID, which was acquired by iCIMS. And that was, for lack of a better word, it was kind of like a HubSpot for recruiting. And Poetry is very similar. And Andrea, it was, if you go to, hang on, I'm doing this from memory, but I'm pretty sure it's poetryhr.com is the URL to go look at it. It's a great platform, and it's an recruiting operations or automation where it puts a lot of the components that you traditionally. And Ivelis, if I don't give this the right term, feel free to correct me if I'm not saying it right. But to me, what it looks like is it takes a lot of these disparate tasks and systems and puts them together in a unified model with a lot of intelligence so you can optimize your processes much faster than jumping from system to system and doing things a little chaotically.
Yeah, definitely. And things that would take me half a day to do to get ready for a kickoff meeting, it's just right there, all in one place.
That's
You
awesome.
create a profile for the role, and it starts doing all of the research for you and everything else, and asks you,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to do in this particular profile? And then you just kind of tell it what you want it to do and what you want it to create for you, and then it does that.
Yeah. And it does a good job working with the hiring manager and giving them the interview preparation that they need, because that's an area that I've seen personally seen a lot of struggle.
Yeah, I have not had any bad reviews from hiring managers. First of all, they're just happy to get interview questions. And second of all, they were happy to get relevant interview questions, because you can choose if they are behavioral type questions, if they're technical questions. You can choose the type of questions you want to create.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. That's a great endorsement. I used to use a book called Top Grading. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, but it's yay big, and it's got a lot of interview tracks, questions and things that I used to use to divvy up. But to what you were saying, it used to take me half a day to get ready. So the ability to do that so quickly, that's awesome. And that's helpful. Any of the other topics standing out? I thought it was interesting when I was reading about at the bottom one, quality of hire. So it was a study by Gartner, and it was talking about the percentage of organizations that are now focusing TA leaders' performance, for lack of a better word, tied back to quality of hire. The area that it did not do a good job on, which I thought was kind of ironic and probably telling, is defining what a quality hire is. So if you're going to measure people on the quality of hire, I think you have to have a clear, clean outline of what that is. And I'm curious if anyone's seen that in their organizations, and how it may be being addressed. It was interesting to me to see a lot of talk about people wanting to do it, but a lack of clarity on what organizations are breaking down as quality of hire. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is there were a sizable difference in the suggested models that different companies were thinking about using to measure quality of hire. It was not a consistent approach. So there was a lot of shifting back and forth on the metrics that they were using. So that was really interesting. Well, these are the topics I put together. I definitely, we have a little bit of a smaller turnout today. So it is curious, because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Is there anything else that anyone would like to spend a minute talking about? Barbara, I know that you were a little bit new to talk. So if there's anything here that you wanted to talk a little bit about, definitely love to delve into any topics, but want to make sure I'm staying focused and relevant for you guys and your time. Oh, on a side note, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, this is Barbara. I was just going to say thanks, Bill. I'm really just curious to hear how the format of this goes and what topics are brought. So I'm really just in kind of a listening mode. But thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And Barbara, we do a series of different models week after week. So some weeks we have a very an open discussion around one specific topic. So last week we spent some time focused on the changes in how organizations are approaching diversity. It was really interesting too, because I was doing a call this morning with a vendor called Infor Talent Sciences, and they were talking about how they were changing their entire marketing message and removing DE&I from their marketing message and how they present their product because they felt like it was such a, they called it a nuclear term, meaning people had such varied opinions. So they're still focused on diversity, but they're using terms like belonging, inclusion, unity, things like that. And they're taking the acronym DEI out of some of their marketing materials. And I think it was really interesting last week to hear that other employers are doing the same thing with their employer brand. So it's interesting to see how political changes can trickle down to shift how we talk about different things. That amazed me. And then some weeks we have vendors come in and not really do anything around their product, but try and moderate a conversation around the problem that their solution solves. And that's a great example next week with Sam Fitzroy from Dahlia coming into talking about some of the things that can prevent career site visits from turning into applies, right? And I think it was about a month ago, we had a discussion in the forum where some people were talking about how low their apply rate was from the number of visits they were able to track, to the point one woman thought that her ATS system had the apply process had broken because so few people were applying based on the number of people who were visiting. Always blows my mind because I think it comes down to the brand and the messaging on the career site, and also the sources of where the applicants are coming from that drive the apply process. So there's a couple things to dig in there, but I thought that was interesting. So yeah, those are the types of talk discussions we have on the weekly discussion forum. But as always, I'm definitely open to other ideas or topics. If there's anything that anyone ever wants to spend more time on, you can simply send me a message in chat in the talk platform or via email. And we're always, or I'd say I am always open to feedback around how we can make these sessions as valuable as possible. We also have on March 20th, which by the way is my birthday, in case anyone wants to bring me presents. We have another company, a guy I've known for a long time. His name is Alex Murphy, and he's been in the recruiting industry for a while. But he founded and he's running a company called JobSync. And he's coming to talk about recruitment operations, which is a really interesting term. And it's fundamentally, nevertheless, I think it goes back to something you were talking about with poetry, which is the ability to do things faster and better in an operational model supported by technology that we normally used to do very manually and take a lot more time to get done. So he's got a lot of exposure and ideas from other companies and how they're doing that. And Barbara, that's is JobSync. That's the right company. So, I mean, he's coming more to talk about operations, but he leads a recruiting operations company, so he can bring some really interesting insights. So that'll be great. But all of these are on our events page, so the ability to go get more information or sign up is there. And so, yeah, so unless there's something else that someone wants to talk about or dig into a little bit deeper, I'm going to wrap up today because we've got a limited audience. And hopefully you guys can join us next week for talking with Sam about candidate conversion or inside track on what's going on with Indeed, if anyone cares, because he can help in both of those areas. So it should be a fun discussion. And I appreciate it. And again, I'm very sincere when I say if there's anything from a topic standpoint that we would like us to focus on and you think would be a good idea, you can reach out to me a couple different ways, but I always value and really appreciate the feedback. It's super helpful. So thanks everybody very much. I'm glad you took some time out of your day to join us. I enjoyed the conversation. Ella, Ivelez, I hope I'm pronouncing your first name properly. Am I close or am I off? Say it again.
Ivelisse.
Ivelisse. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was on a call yesterday with a bunch of people from Argentina, and there was a name that, while did not look like Miley, it was pronounced Miley. And somehow a group of 12 adults from 3 different countries, after she said her name was Miley, the whole call broke down to everyone singing "Party in the USA" by Miley Cyrus. And I was sitting there going, I just lost all credibility. This call is over. We're now singing pop songs. So it was really funny. But so I appreciate it. Everyone, great. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you for your time. And I really appreciate your support and being part of the talk community. So thanks, everybody.
Bill, I had a quick question about the board.
Sure. Go for it. Yes, I am working. So one of the things that's been a challenge is just getting the coordination of putting it together. But I definitely want to get that back up and running.
Okay.
And part of what we're doing is moving to the new platform, is creating an ability for the boards to have more flexibility and communication within the platform itself. But and you'd like, what city are you in?
I'm around the Tampa Bay area in Florida.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we should probably have a board meeting down there soon, because I'm north of Boston and it was -7 this morning. Was not happy.
It's 73 here. It's nice.
It's how warm is it?
73.
Oh my God. That sounds perfect. Well, let me do this. It is something I'm working on, and I'm about 6 to 8 weeks behind schedule of what I had planned on it. But some of the platform stuff had kind of taken priority. But I will have some updates on the board and the process forward soon. It's something that I wanted to get done at the end of January, but I've set a hard date for myself by the end of this month. So I'm going to be setting up some meetings and some ways that we can start forming things again. And the other thing that I want to do, Ivelisse, is put together an opportunity for us to start doing more local community coffee hours or whatever would be, because I think the networking aspect is really fun. The challenge is that with the number of communities and the number of members we have, getting the boards in place to help make it happen consistently in a bunch of different areas is really needed. So I'm excited to get that in place so we can start doing more local events and having more fun.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm going to shut everything down, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for your time.